Hey, good morning, Huntsville. Welcome into episode number 17 as we continue to move on, and May is right here, and we had a show in yesterday, of course, here on a Tuesday. Thanks for waking up with us. Another episode of Good Morning Huntsville. We are broadcasting, as always, from our beautiful studio downtown here on the square. I say beautiful studio. I meant the beautiful square here in our studio. We're continuing to beautify the studio every day. We add one more thing, Jason.
Yeah.
So
we got more blinds today.
Yeah, we added a blind yesterday, so now we got two of those. Every day a new component. Justin Killingsworth of the Color Bar, our Thursday co-host, he donated a couple of lights, and so things are rocking and rolling, but we're excited. Again, broadcasting live from downtown. Got a great show lined up today. As always, we are here in our studio that is brought to you by our good friends at Elliott's Jewelers. Check them out online, elliotsjewelers.com, for all of your jewelry needs. Man, you may have an idea this morning. You woke up, maybe you're in trouble with the wife. Man, maybe something happened and you're in a lot of trouble. And you know what? Flowers are good, but jewelry's better sometimes.
It lasts a lot longer.
That's right. You don't have to water a ring. You got to polish them once in a while. But
well, that's what he's for.
That's what Elliott's Jewelers is for. So check him out.
He'll take good care of you guys.
That's right. He'll take excellent care of you. So check him out online, elliotsjewelers.com. Our good friend Elliot Herzlich, again, online at elliotsjewelers.com. Also, big thank you to Paul Oley. We wouldn't be able to be here without Paul as well, so we work in collaboration with Paul. Please support local business. You know, Paul had some folks come in yesterday that were looking at some framing options, and he can take care of you. So Paul Oley, for all your custom framing, photography, family photos, corporate photos. Maybe you've got an idea for a photo. Let Paul help you and be creative with that idea. But, hey, man, here we are, with Brother Jason Thompson.
How are you this
morning?
Good
to see you.
Good morning.
I'm great, man. Looking sharp, Jason, as always. Man, you inspire me that I need to, look a little better.
Come on now. You went and got your hair cut after we had our show last week.
Because I saw you, man.
Yeah. This week's the week for the haircut.
I was looking a little gruff, and Bridget isn't shy of letting me know, like, hey, and she always tells me, you got to do something about that neckline.
Mm-hmm.
And
mine does too.
So, I got a haircut, got it taken care of. But Jason Thompson here with us every Tuesday, Guardian Defense, except the next two after this. You're not going to be here.
Yeah, the next two. Yeah, I'm going to go. We'll go take care of my mother.
Well, that's good. Where's she living?
She lives in outside of Phoenix in Goodyear, Arizona.
Man.
So she's got some stuff that she needs some muscle for.
Yeah.
She has no business. It's 73 years old, getting on ladders and changing out ceiling fans.
Well, it's good that you're going down there to help her. Again, Jason Thompson of Guardian Defense, and you guys, we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but got back, had a gun show down in Conroe. And
had a great show down there. It's a great family environment to go to. We've got some classes coming up this weekend with some really, really good pricing on there if anyone's interested.
Yeah, and look, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, I need you to take care of our local businesses and support folks like Jason, because without your support, they wouldn't be able to be here and support what we do. And everything always comes full circle. And because of folks like Jason and our Foundation 5 sponsors that help make this show possible every single weekday morning, we wouldn't be able to highlight nonprofits and the great events that are going on in our community. Speaking of which, Dr. Alvin Jones will be joining us here in about 5 minutes or so. And we're going to be talking about National Day of Prayer, a very important event coming up here in a couple of days in Walker County. And so these are all very important things. And folks like Jason, and I mentioned our Foundation 5 sponsors, Walker County Federal Credit Union joined us now on Mondays. We have you on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, Kay Boning and Rick with Tomorrow's Promise. Thursdays is Justin Killingsworth, the Color Bar. And then Fridays is Greg Smith with Sam Houston Memorial Funeral Home. So
that's a very busy man, too.
And I don't know how he does it.
I don't either.
Bridget and I were talking about it last night. We had went to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes banquet. They had at Carolina Creek. Never been out there, man. Beautiful place. Have you been out there?
I haven't been out there, but I understand that Christmas lights display they did out there last year was like off the chain.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know anything about a Christmas light display out there.
Yeah, it was super big. They did it for almost a month.
And it's crazy because I punch in the GPS. And by the way, Sally Hosey, if you're joining us, and Robert this morning, thank y'all so much. They came out. Deneen watched Braylon last week for us, and then we had never had a babysitter except once for her. Now within a week and a half, we've had her twice. So Deneen came last week. We had an event pop up, and then we were invited and very gracious to Robert Lindeman and Angela Volish for inviting us out to the FCA banquet last night. And came out there, and I had messaged Sally because she said, hey, we'd love to watch Braylon sometime. And so I messaged her over the weekend, and she said, yeah, we'll be there on Monday. So they came out.
That's amazing.
Just love our community. I always talk about it.
we do have a great community in Huntsville, and that's why I chose to come. To stay here. I've been here most of my life, and I couldn't imagine living anywhere else than in this community.
Yeah, I mean, people just want to help. And so, again, thank you to Sally and Robert. The good news is when you have a babysitter, Bridget and I, like our thing is we like to sneak in the house so Braylon doesn't see us. And, man, we just kind of crept back in last night. And she just laughing and giggling, just like with Deneen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, I spoke with Deneen a couple times while she was over. She said she doesn't even know they're gone.
Yeah, I even asked her. I said, did she cry? No, she didn't cry at all.
No, she said she had a great time with her.
That kind of worries me. I want my daughter to cry a little bit when we're gone, just a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Yeah, she didn't cry at all. So, but then as soon as we came home, of course, she comes running.
Yeah, she was ready.
Yeah, she did. So, hey, a lot of friends already joining us this morning, too. We want to highlight those. Greg Smith over at Sam Houston Memorial Funeral Home. Good morning to you, Greg. Appreciate you. That's where the ADD was kicking in. I don't need coffee in the morning, man, because the brain's already in overdrive. We were talking, you said Greg is everywhere, and Bridget and I, on the way back from the FCA, we had mentioned Greg because I said, Bridget, it seems like we've been busy, and then she had said something. I said, yeah, but we're not as busy as Greg Smith.
No, I don't know how the man does it.
So, I told Bridget last night, and Greg, let me know your secret, because I told Bridget last night, I said, I need Greg's energy.
There we go.
So,
I think we all need Greg's energy.
Yeah. So
I could get so much more done.
Yeah, if we can figure out, Greg, how to bottle that up and sell it, my brother, we are going to be mega millionaires. So we'll
we go. That's a great new business venture for us.
We'll figure that out because Cafe Texan will bring them in off the interstate with their new setup, and then we'll bring in the second wave with the bottled up energy.
There we go.
So we got
Huntsville on the map today.
That's right. That's what we're going to do. Bridget joining us as well. Good morning, sweetheart. Good to hear from you. A lot of friends, too. I know there's always a lot of folks that join us that don't comment. Steve Ricks chiming in this morning. So good morning to you, Steve. Man, we miss you, brother. We love you. Steve is joining us this morning. Tommy Hoke is joining us. David Engelstadt. Robin Logan joining us from Tomorrow's Promise. Jamie Saucier joining us. And so let us know you're out there. Send those comments. All you got to do is just type a comment there on your screen, and we will get to those and showcase it. As always, we want to know what you're thankful for this morning. There is so much to be thankful for, and we always try to provide a little bit of inspiration to lift you up each morning here on the show. That's what it's all about. We do want to highlight the good news, but I don't ever want to sit here and focus on heavy news because this show is all about promoting good things. But you are here, and we'll talk about this after we talk with Dr. Jones later on in the show. But a very tragic event in Cleveland, Texas on Friday with that shooter, and I believe he's still on the loose. And so we're going to talk with you, Jason, this morning. I want to chat with you about that, and because I think the community needs to be aware, because whenever these things happen, we need to know how to protect ourselves, our families, and it kind of ties in with you today. So we will be talking about that, some tragic events there in Cleveland, Texas, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later. And more reason of why this country needs so much prayer. We have so many people that are hurting, that are suffering, and Lord knows that prayer works, and God hears our prayers, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few moments.
Sounds really good.
Also today, maybe you're waking up, and you just feel like there's something in that cup today. There's something in your cup that's just dragging you down. Maybe something negative going on. We all go through situations that bring us down, but I just want to encourage you this morning, as much as you don't feel it. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you say, you know what, I don't feel it. But today I want you to, whatever is in that cup, pour it out and just fill that cup with goodness. So we got something real quick here live on the show.
There we go.
We got something really, really quick. And our good buddy has brought us a sign. And I'm going to ask him to bring this sign in. Mr. John Voigt has just dropped by. John, do you mind hopping? Can you hop on the camera just real quick here? Check this out. John Voigt's here. Man, he just walked. That's why look at this, man. I always say, welcome, friends. And would you check this out, what John has made? John, hop in here real quick and say hello and give us a good wave. We don't have a microphone for you. You got to duck down there, John. Look at this,
over
man.
Here in front of you.
You never know what's going to happen here on the show, man.
That's awesome.
John, this is awesome, man. Yeah. Thank you, my friend. He said, I'm going to make.
He always says friends. We missed that when he went there.
We did.
Up north.
Yeah, so John had came by the other day and said, I'm going to bring you a sign. And, man, that is great. There's right there. There's the goodness of this community, man.
There it is right there.
So we appreciate John. You can set it right there, John. That's perfect. Okay. And so we got a sign now that says, welcome, friends, and we'll position that out there. You know where I got that from? Years ago, was a pastor named David Edwards, a church I grew up at, Main Street Baptist Church in Georgetown, Texas. And Dr. Edwards, every single sermon, he'd always start and say, "Good morning, friends."
That's awesome.
And it stuck with me.
I like that sign.
Yeah, it's great. And that, I mean, by the way, if there's any of Dr. Edwards' family joining us, he had tragically passed away in a car accident years ago. He had moved on to Corsicana to be the pastor there at First Baptist Corsicana. But I'll never forget what he always said was friends. And that stuck with me. You never know in your life who's going to make an impact on your life.
No, you really don't.
And, the way that he always said that word friends stuck with me. And that's the way that I approach as many people as I can, as I look at them as friends,
There you go.
I did learn one thing, though. I used to say I trust everybody until they give me a reason not to. I've kind of changed that over the few years. But, you
have to.
You got to earn some trust. But, hey, we're having a good one this morning. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. We'll have Dr. Alvin Jones joining us when we come back as we talk about the National Day of Prayer. We'll also learn a little bit about Dr. Jones as well.
Don't bump the mouse this morning.
Yeah, don't bump the mouse this morning. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. We'll be back here in about a minute. Stay with us. This is Good Morning Huntsville. Hey, good morning, Huntsville. Welcome back in. Look, our background changed. We had the American flag behind us, and then we went back to the brick.
We went to the great brick wall.
We went
with
to the
character.
That's right, man. Some of that character this morning. Hey, I want to welcome you in. Welcome back in another episode of Good Morning Huntsville. A lot of friends joining us throughout the social media feeds. Let us know you're out there. What you're thankful for this morning. As we'll always lift you up and encourage you here on Good Morning Huntsville. Maybe you're not even watching from Huntsville. We have some friends that I made up in Fargo that watch the show, people literally from all over the United States. Still waiting on that first international viewer, but they're coming.
Yeah, hopefully it's on Tuesday.
They're coming. Yeah, hopefully it's on Tuesday. They're coming. But we got a great opportunity to reach people here with this platform, and again, we appreciate you. And it's all made possible by our good friends and our Foundation 5 sponsors, such as Jason Thompson with Guardian Defense. Check them out online, guardiandefensellc.com. We'll talk more with Jason and his business as we do every Tuesday here in just a few moments. But hey, without any further interruption, I want to welcome on our good friend this morning, Dr. Alvin Jones, who is gracious enough to be here today. Dr. Jones, good to have you, and thank you for being here and joining us on our show today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Dr. Jones, you've been in this community for a while, and you're a medical doctor here and a lot of great things over the years. Give us a little bit about your background as we dig in this morning.
Well, I came to Huntsville in 1968. I got out of the Army. I was a medical officer for the U.S. Army in Fort Lewis, Washington during the Vietnam War. And I'm a family physician, and I practiced family medicine for 20 years here in Huntsville. Delivered over 2,000 babies, and at the end of the 20 years, I was recruited by Texas Tech Health Science Center to their family medicine department as associate chair and associate professor.
So a lot of history, and you've seen a lot of great things in this community over the years, with the growth. And we were talking off camera earlier, and you've literally had kids too in all parts of the globe, it seems like. Yeah. Give us a little bit about your family. That was interesting to talk about earlier.
Okay. Well, my wife and I, we had 3 children. My oldest was born in Galveston when I was a medical student at UTMB, and she always says her moniker is BOI, born on island.
That's not a bad moniker. That's all right.
That's pretty good.
And she's proud of that. And then our second daughter was born when we got here to Huntsville in 1968, and she was born in 1968. My son was born in 1971, and my oldest daughter is a psychiatrist in Austin. She's with a VA clinic. Basically, she set up a clinic. She had a second specialty in psychiatry of addictive medicine, so she set up a program there for the soldiers who come back with PTSD and other kind of problems. And my middle child, Adrian, is at UT Austin. She's in the area where they recruit funds for the university, so she's very busy. And my son, Chuck, is head of facilities and all construction at Sam Houston University now. He got his engineering degree at Texas Tech, and then he did a extended study at Loughborough, England, to get his master's in construction.
Wow. So you went all the way to England for that.
Yeah.
That is great. Well, again, this morning, talking with our good friend, Dr. Alvin Jones, National Day of Prayer coming up, and we'll mention that here in a few moments. But I did want to mention, of course, retired family physician and an Ashbel Smith Distinguished Alumni Award recipient. I believe that was last year, and I don't want to gloss over that. That is a very amazing honor for you, Doctor, and just you have dedicated your life not only to the medical profession but also just to humanity, to serving others, and we appreciate you being here today. Talk a little bit more just about that award and how much that meant to you receiving that.
Well, that reward, when I received it, I was totally speechless. I couldn't even function after I got the phone call that day for about half a day because it was so unexpected. But basically it came from like when I was in Huntsville. If some of you might know where the old hospital was, the building's still standing on the corner of Avenue O and 11th Street. It's kind of run down, but that's where I started practicing, and it was so dilapidated that we couldn't get the JCO approval. So I was chief of staff and worked to get the hospital accredited with JCO, and that allowed us to petition for a new hospital. And so I was chief of staff when we built the new hospital. And after that, because there was a requirement, we needed to take care of the indigents, which was always a concern of mine. We created the Walker County Hospital District, and I was on the board there for 12 years as elected position.
It's a lot of great things that you've done here, Dr. Jones, and again, appreciate you being on with us this morning. Something else, too, as a Rotarian that Rotary is passionate about is polio eradication, and I know that's been kind of one of your life missions as well. Just a disease that especially decades ago was very prevalent, and I believe now that eradication is down to about 2 countries or so, and I think it's because they just won't allow people into those countries too easily. But I just wanted you to expand a little bit on those efforts and how much that has meant to you.
Yeah. Well, basically I came from a very rural situation. I grew up on a cotton farm in Polk County, Texas, which is close to Moscow. And I had a brother that was born before I. At 4 years of age, he died from an injury, which, if he had got adequate care, he would not have done that. And my mother, when I was a senior in high school, passed away with stomach cancer, but her diagnosis was missed for a long time. When they operated on it, it was too late. So I had this burden on my heart to look for people who needed care and make sure everybody got the care they needed. And that's one of my driving forces. And after I left Texas Tech, I joined the UTMB Family Medicine Department and was the head of the residency program in Beaumont, Port Arthur for 5 years, and then came to Conroe. And then UTMB had financial difficulties, and so they cut those 2 programs out. But I wrote a grant for a federally qualified health center, which is called Lone Star Community Health Center. and it allowed us to keep the residency going and also take care of the people who had no funds in Montgomery County. And that community health center has now expanded. There's a clinic here in Huntsville on Old 75, the Lone Star Community Health Center, and they now have one in Willis and one in Tomball. So it basically is for people who have no financial resources. You can get medical care.
I think that's great. And,
That's
Jason,
awesome.
great to have Doctor here today with us. And, Jason, do you have any questions for Doctor?
No, I'm curious about the National Day of Prayer. I mean, I think he's here to represent it. So
Yeah.
let's hear about National Day of Prayer.
Well, we'll segue into that because, you're not only involved, Dr. Jones, of course, in the medical profession and where you've worked so many years and did so many great things here in Huntsville, but also helping out folks with spiritual guidance as well. I believe a deacon at First Baptist Church, if I'm not mistaken, and then you have a passion for just serving others in that capacity and also providing some spiritual guidance to inmates over at the Goree Unit.
Yeah.
That kind of leads us into National Day of Prayer. So just kind of talk about those side of things and how you got involved, with the church and then also the inmates, and then we'll lead into National Day of Prayer.
Well, when I retired in 2006 after 45 years of medical practice, and we had moved back to Huntsville. And while I was in practice here, one time Goree lost their physician. And so the clinic I was in, we actually covered the female inmates at that time were in Goree, and so we provided medical care for them. So I was familiar with Goree. And the church came back to with First Baptist, and Dr. David Valentine was very aggressive in reaching out to the prison system and had a program for that. And so I volunteered to go to Goree, and I stayed there for 10 years. I would go and provide Christian kind of education to the inmates at the faith-based dorm there. And that was, met my understanding of what the scripture says. Don't avoid the orphans and those in prison. They need the word just like everybody else.
Yeah, I think that's so good, Dr. Jones, and just, we're not here to judge others, and we definitely know that some folks have, committed heinous crimes, but we still have to have compassion, and it's tough in some situations because you never know what maybe some of those folks have done, but at the end of the day, it is about compassion and sharing that news. And some of the joy is finding folks that have been in the prison system, and then when they get out, their lives have been dramatically changed and serving others now. And folks such as yourself going in and making an impact through what Christ is doing is amazing. And now we've got a big day coming up, I believe on Thursday here in Walker County, the National Day of Prayer, a very important event just to bring people together, because I truthfully believe that our prayers are heard. And this is a great day for our nation and especially our county to come together. So just wanted to give you an opportunity to highlight National Day of Prayer and how things are going to look on Thursday for us.
Well, we're excited about the National Day of Prayer this coming Thursday. I've been the volunteer coordinator for the past 5 years. Last year I was very ill with pancreatic cancer. And at the meeting last year, the group, we had about 300 people there, took a time out and laid hands on me and prayed for me. And so I'm here now with answered prayer. This last Friday, I saw my surgeon and oncologist at MD Anderson. My CT scan is clear, and my blood test for the cancer marker is clear. And so I have been declared clear of pancreatic cancer, which is a very difficult disease.
Yes, it is. And
yes,
praise God for that, Doctor, because I remember
living proof, guys.
Yeah, and I remember being at that event last year. We were gone for 10 months, but it was outside of the National Day of Prayer. We had left shortly after that, and I remember praying and just believing. We said, you know what, God is going to heal this man. And I always have this attitude because I heard a pastor one time that had a very serious brain tumor. And I like what he said. He said, God can heal me. He will heal me. But even if he doesn't, I'm going to remain faithful. And just praise God that, I know that pancreatic cancer, it is a tough thing. My great uncle had it, and God had healed him for a couple of years. And then he had something else that had went on. But amazing testimony just right there, Doctor.
Well,
very amazing.
Yeah, well, the year I had it, I was aware of 5 other people who had the disease, and they all passed in that year that I was dealing with it.
Yes, sir.
So it definitely made a positive statement that God had healed me, and now what is the purpose He has left me here to serve Him? So I made a presentation to our church, and my son's a deacon there at First Baptist as well. And so he told me afterward, he said, Ned, well, you know, it's obvious. He saved you for your testimony, because I'm now a poster child that God answers prayer.
Yeah, and that's so great, Dr. Jones, and just incredible. We will step aside briefly for just a moment because I do want to talk more about the National Day of Prayer happening on Thursday. So we'll kind of go over the agenda and how things look on Thursday. But we'll step aside. We'll take a break. Got a lot more to go here. Stay with us. Let us know you're out there. A lot of those comments coming in, and we'll get to those. We'll be back here in about a minute. Stay with us. This is Good Morning Huntsville. Hey, friends, welcome back in here on Good Morning Huntsville. Rob Hipp alongside Jason Thompson of Guardian Defense, our Tuesday co-host, and also a privilege and a pleasure today to be joined by Dr. Alvin Jones here, sharing a little bit of his testimony, which I think is important, and kind of segueing us in now to National Day of Prayer happening on May the 4th, coming up on Thursday. So good opportunity for folks to come out. Walk us through the order of events, Dr. Jones.
Well, the event starts at 11 o'clock at the Walker County Fairgrounds, and from 11 to 12 we have food that are provided, free lunch, and we're blessed to have the food provided by Northside Baptist Church, and they're going to be serving at 12. The prayer for the National Day begin, and we have prayer warriors from all over the community. We this year have a much broader reach into Huntsville, Walker County citizens. We have, I don't know, do you want to name some of them?
Yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah, please.
The opening prayer is going to be with Chaplain Billy Holmes, who is a chaplain at Goree, a fantastic Christian, does great work for the inmates.
I did want to mention briefly, though, when Chaplain Holmes, man, he will get you going. I love Chaplain. I love all of the folks here, but Chaplain Holmes, man, if you're having a down day, you get around Chaplain Holmes, and he is going to lift you up and get you energized. Yeah, right. We love Chaplain Holmes.
So do I. He's a great friend and great Christian. And then the Boy Scouts will present the colors. The power prayer testimony will be myself, which relates to the prayers that healed my disease of pancreatic cancer. And then Reverend Otis Cunningham from the Missionary Baptist Church on 10th Street will talk about the importance of prayer. And then the community things, the heads of the prayer times are basically government, military, media, arts, business, education, student, church, college, and family. For the government, Congressman Morgan Luttrell will be joining us. Military, Dorothy Fulton, who is a RN that served in Vietnam. And then Les Hackett. Medical arts will be Wes Alton and Brenda Poe of Item. Business, Frank Oliveris, who has a business in Riverside. and he was a candidate for county judge this past time, and a lot of people know him.
Mm-hmm.
Education, Dr. Sophie Willis, and Paul Trevino Paul is the principal at Huntsville High School.
Yes, sir.
And student ministry is Angela Vallis of you were talking about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. She's fantastic. And then we have listed Father Fred Fallone, but he has medical problems, so it's most likely he won't be able to be there. But I just wanted people to know that all the churches are part. And then Dr. Shirley Wallace is also with the 10th Street Missionary Baptist Church. Family, Tracy Stout, who's the new director of Safe House. And then Jackie Barnham, who is the director of the Pregnancy Center. And after that, the closing remarks and prayer will be Dr. Jason Bay, and then Reverend Alan Barnes, who is the music.
Awesome. Well, it's just a great lineup of folks there, and it's not about these people. It's about this community coming together and honoring God and just praying. And, you know, as you said, a walking, living testimony that the power of prayer works. And I want to encourage somebody today. There may be somebody listening, Dr. Jones, and I want to be very clear about this, that maybe you have prayed and you've prayed for a miracle and you didn't receive that miracle here on earth. But I want to encourage you this morning that miracle is always there for you in heaven. And I want folks to know that. Don't turn away from God because you feel like your prayers haven't been answered, because there's a lot of folks that have been sick that have prayed and have not seen that healing. And I want to encourage you that it's tough to understand, and I know it is, because I knew of a little boy who was 8 years old that had cancer, and the whole community where I grew up prayed for him and laid hands on him, and ultimately the Lord took him home, and it was tough. But his mother stayed in faith and said, you know what, I'm going to continue to believe. And I think that's important today. So I don't want you to be discouraged. I want you to know that God always hears our prayers, and there is always a purpose for everything. And, you know, just by the grace of God, you were able to through his healing, to be here and to continue to share the good work and of what Christ is doing. And we appreciate you so much, Dr. Jones.
Well, my testimony basically is that even though I am healed at this point and can testify that, for a fact, God answers prayer, but during that time, Christ's Spirit, the Holy Spirit, was with me, and so I knew I was going to be with Christ if I stayed here. I was going to be with Christ if I went on the other side. And so I went through the whole year, even though it was uncertain how it was going to turn out, with total peace. And I just would recommend to people to know Christ, have Christ in your heart and your soul, and there is nothing that is out there that will be a challenge for you.
Amen, man. That's a good message this morning, Dr.
Excellent
Jones.
message.
Appreciate it. I didn't, I figured we're going to get you on here, and we're going to get you to, even though you're, a doctor of medicine, we're going to have you preach a little bit of a sermon. So I knew that's what we were getting to, Dr. Jones. So,
Okay.
But
Preach us a sermon this morning.
I think it's great, Dr. Jones, and just phenomenal to hear your story.
Yeah. Well, I have one other thing.
Sure.
We're having the National Day of Prayer, but our nation actually would not be here without prayer. And for those who may not know the history, the meeting at the Constitutional Hall in Philadelphia lasted for 116 days. And the first 100 days were basically arguing and having fights and fusses about how we were going to make everything equal. And so at the 100th day, it was in the summer. I don't know if anybody been to the Constitution Hall, but it's a small building, and so it was hot.
No air conditioning.
No air conditioning. And so the temperatures had gotten hot, and people were picking up their hats and their stuff and getting ready to leave. And Benjamin Franklin says, "Wait a minute, men. We are people of prayer. So let's pray about this and see what God would have us to do." 2 weeks later, they had written and signed and adopted the Constitution of the United States of America. So if it hadn't been for that prayer, the meeting would have broken up, and what is reported is they got on their knees and prayed for 2 hours.
Wow.
And so our country actually came from prayer. And then the success of our country in 1775, George Washington, the general, asked the Continental Congress to have prayer. And so that was for the success of the war for independence. And in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln requested prayer during the midst of the Civil War when basically it was not sure whether the Union was going to survive.
Correct.
And then in 1953, President Harry S. Truman requested National Day of Prayer, and actually Congress passed the law which created the National Day of Prayer every year. And it passed the House and it passed the Senate. The vote was unanimous in each house. So in today's political climate, how many think we could get anything unanimous? But that was in 1953. And then when President Reagan was there, they established the first Thursday in May as the National Day of Prayer.
I think it's great. And, you mentioned something so important. Again, we're here this morning with Dr. Alvin Jones talking about the National Day of Prayer. And it's amazing when our country comes together under that umbrella of prayer, what can happen.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's another takeaway from today is, maybe you're arguing with somebody. Maybe there's somebody you haven't talked to in 20 years. I mean, I've heard stories of families that have gotten broken up for 20 years over things that, let's be honest, are very petty, And at the end of the day, I've always been a believer that at the end of the day, if we are blessed enough to know when our last breath is going to come, because I think that almost that can be a privilege, knowing that if you're not feeling well and a doctor has said, hey, you got a week to go, I almost feel like that's a privilege because you know that I'm about to go home. But I think that all of us, when we're on our last days and our last breath, I don't think any of that stuff is going to matter. What's going to matter is, one, as a believer, I will say what's going to matter the most is your relationship with Jesus and that you've accepted him. But then secondly, in a worldly view, is what legacy did you leave, and did you forget all of that petty stuff? Because at the end of the day, what matters most is that relationship with him, and then secondly, our relationship with people here on this earth. And we can put all that aside, put all of our differences aside. And that's why I love doing this show, Dr. Jones, because, we want to highlight the good things that are happening, and we don't dive a lot into politics or any of that kind of stuff. We just want to know that, man, we can embrace each other. We can hug each other. That's what I tell people in business. Business is easy if you just be yourself and hug on people and love them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
There you
easy.
go.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Somebody's upset at you, just ask them, what can I do to make things right?
Yeah.
And you're not going to please everybody, and you shouldn't try to, but you can at least give somebody a hug and tell them you love them.
Amen.
So,
There you go.
and Jason does. Jason's a good man. Jason and I are on the same page with that, and he's been successful in his business. And Dr. Jones, most importantly, I mean, you've got a heart to serve others, and it resonates. That's why we had a friend here that said, and Tommy Hogue said, Dr. Jones is a local treasure. He said, this man is solid gold. Thank you, Dr. Jones, for all of you have done and for the things you continue to do in Huntsville. So
Thank you, Tommy.
So we appreciate that very much.
Yes, we do.
Again, National Day of Prayer is coming up on Thursday, so come out 11 o'clock. You can enjoy a light lunch, and that's provided by First Baptist Church. Is that
It's with
or
Northside.
Northside Baptist Church? So, but a lot of churches
Great
coming
group
together.
out there.
They're all coming together in different aspects, but Northside Baptist providing the food. Again, National Day of Prayer at the Walker County Fairgrounds. Come on out at 11 o'clock. There'll be a light lunch, a little bit of music, and then the program will get started right at noon.
Right.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. And then I think maybe something new this year is after the main group of prayer, there's going to be smaller groups that are going to break away at the end of the main prayer. And then individually, there's also going to be an opportunity to pray a little bit extra after that, from what I was told.
That's correct, and we're encouraging that. Basically, there will be breakout areas where we'll cover all of those topics I mentioned earlier about the government, schools, media, and so there'll be signs for, if you have an interest in those areas, for prayer, to go join that group. And the purpose of that is that we want to encourage not only the National Day of Prayer, but we want the National Day of Prayer to be the starting point for daily prayer for our nation. And so by starting these groups after this prayer, we hope that generates the movement, the momentum that the Holy Spirit can use to spread prayer throughout our city, our county, our country. And so that will just be spontaneous. And we encourage those who have ability to stay after the 1 o'clock hour to join in. And our hope is that this could be like the spark that started the revival and the movement in Ashbury, North Carolina. That was Kentucky, wasn't it? Ashbury. The university it was in Ashbury. Ashbury was at Wilmot, Kentucky. I'll get it straight. But anyway, it was a small event, and it started as the university. It's the university, about 1,500 students, and they started a Wednesday night prayer, and it just continued, and it spread across the country. And I know Baptist Baylor University has said that it actually broke out in Texas A&M as well, and I'm not sure other places. I'm sure, but it spread, and we know that if we allow ourselves to be used by the Holy Spirit, we can have this move across our country and have the fifth great spiritual awakening for our people. There have been 4 spiritual awakenings which changed the culture of our country. In 1734, there was like one Christian out of every 20 people. But at the end of this spiritual awakening, there was 80% of the people in the country had become identified as Christians. The second one happened in 1784, and after we got our independence, the country became involved in alcoholism. And there were so many alcoholics that women were afraid to go out at night. Bank robberies were everywhere. Shootings and killings were everywhere. But then another spiritual awakening occurred, and the people turned back to Christ. And then the third one was in 1858, and that was after the gold rush crash, and there was a depression in our country. People were in fear of the Civil War starting, which it did, unfortunately. And then during that time, 100,000 soldiers that were involved came to Christ. And the last one we've experienced to change the culture of our country was in 1904-05, and that actually started in Wales by a coal miner who basically felt led by the Spirit to start prayer in his church with the young people. And that spread all through Wales, and in that event, the pretty much coal mining was the main industry in Wales at that time. And so after they had these conversions to Christianity, the miners stopped using vulgar language, and so the mules and horses they normally used to move the carriages and everything wouldn't respond because they didn't understand the commands anymore. So that spread to the United States in New Jersey, and basically about 80 to 90% of the people came to Christ in that movement and across our country. So I'm just a believer that the Holy Spirit can move again, and all we have to do is return to the basic principles of what God told us to do as His followers.
That's good, Dr. Jones. Well, we
Very
appreciate
good
you.
message this morning.
Yeah, just sharing such an important message with all of us here this morning. Again, Dr. Jones is joining us here on Good Morning Huntsville, and we appreciate everyone so much for being here today, and just what a privilege just to hear not only your story and your healing, but then also a little bit of history on prayer and the founding of our country. And I think those are the roots that we need to get back to, and we need to teach our young people these roots, and we need to talk about these roots every opportunity that we get. Dr. Jones, thank you so much for being here. As we do all of our guests, we got to ask you one final question. Is that okay?
Sure.
Not a trivia question, but something that you'll be able to answer very easily. What has made Huntsville such a great place to be?
Well, it's just people with good hearts. Yeah, and like I say, we worked to get a new hospital, and the whole community came together to make that happen. And I just look at the churches and all the activities that they have going on to help the people be successful in life, not just business-wise.
That's right. Well, that's what it's all about. Dr. Jones, again, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Could you do us the privilege of coming back on sometime, maybe in a few months, and giving us some updates and talking to us a little bit more?
I would like to do that, and I'm expecting that we will be able to report on an Ashbury-type movement for Huntsville, Walker County that will spread across our state.
Great. I love that. Well, again, thank you, Dr. Jones, for being here with us today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Once again, Dr. Alvin Jones, everyone, and appreciate his time. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. Jason Thompson and I will be back in a moment as we'll talk more about things happening here around our area and ways that you can protect you and your family. Stay with us. This is Good Morning Huntsville. Welcome back at it here on Good Morning Huntsville. Rob Hipp alongside Jason Thompson. Got the flag back with us.
All right.
You know, man, what an inspirational program this morning. And, I was in Huntsville for 4 years prior, never had the privilege of getting to know Dr. Jones. And Linda McKenzie had said, hey, let me get you in touch with Dr. Jones and have him come by and talk about National Day of Prayer. And just what a tremendous just human being here, here in our community, Jason.
And his knowledge.
Yeah.
His knowledge is amazing when it comes to all the information he was able to share.
Yeah, and some of the history, and he talked about the spiritual movements and those kind of things. And,
right.
It's things that I had heard, but, needed it to be reiterated to me because these are important things that happen, here in our community.
And for him to come on and give his testimony about the power of prayer was almost quite shocking to me.
Yeah, just incredible. And I knew, whenever we were here last year and had the National Day of Prayer and he was battling that pancreatic cancer, I mean, for him to be healed of that. And I had an uncle. I know that is a terrible form of cancer. And
right.
I've
I had
known
a friend
folks
of mine that we lost not too long ago that had pancreatic cancer, and it was he didn't fare so well, and it was rather quick.
It's one of those things too that folks, with pancreatic cancer, the reason it's so aggressive is because you don't catch it until it's late, because you don't feel anything a lot of times until that final stage. And so, it's just awesome this morning to have Dr. Jones on. Appreciate you, Linda, for bringing him to our attention as well so we could have him on and talk about the National Day of Prayer. We will stream that service. So for some of you that maybe aren't in the Huntsville area but want to stay connected, like our good friend Jerica, who chimes in, we need more Jericas in the world. Jerica joins us almost every morning from Fargo. And she said, good morning. It is finally warming up in Fargo, North Dakota.
Finally warming up.
So, Jerica, as soon as you get down here to Texas, if you're ever coming, get started. Go by and see my good buddy, Josh. Go by and see my good buddy, Jason Thompson with Guardian Defense. I said Josh for some reason. Jason Thompson with Guardian Defense.
I answered anything.
and he'll teach you how to be. Speaking of being safe, I want to switch gears and have a serious moment. A very tragic event happening on a Friday in Cleveland, Texas. There was a man there and I don't know the full story. I was catching glimpses. I didn't even hear about it actually until yesterday when I had lunch with a gentleman here in town, and he had brought it up. And we were talking about local news, and he had said, did you hear about this guy in Cleveland that had shot 5 people? I said, no, I did not. And he told me the story about somebody was trying to take away his gun or tell him to quit shooting.
No, they simply, from what I understood, they went up and they simply asked him, hey, man, do you mind not shooting right now? We have, young children that are trying to sleep, because evidently it happened at night, from what I understand. And from what I read and what I was told, that he said he was going to do what he wanted to, and he just full out attacked those people.
Yeah, and not just attacked them, but it tragically killed them.
Yes.
And this was just down the road in Cleveland, 30 miles north of the Houston area, and you think about those kind of events, and Jason, that's why it's so important. And with what you do at Guardian Defense, I mean, you teach people just how to protect themselves, how to protect their families. And I know that we talk about a lot of good things and we lift people up on this show, but it is important that we do need to talk about the realities of this world that we live in, and things like this happen. And now this man, from what I understand, is still on the loose. They have not
5
found
days.
Had 200 police officers looking for him.
Right.
Here we are going on to day 5, and they still haven't found him. And so I don't want people to be afraid and to worry and, to say, man, but you do need to be alert. And Jason,
be prepared.
You got to be prepared. And so what are some things that folks can do in these kind of situations? How can you prepare for maybe a scenario like this that will come up? What are some things that you can do?
Preparing for a scenario like that is worst case scenario. But what you really want to do is prepare, your everyday life. Guys, one of the things I talk about in a lot of the classes I teach is situational awareness. Be aware of where you are, what's going on around you, who's around you. We see it all the time, and I make fun of people in different aspects of my training classes that we see day in and day out that are glued, their whole life revolves around their cell phone. And when your attention is on that cell phone, you're not paying attention to what's going on around you, who's around you. And that's what the bad guys are looking for in a lot of cases. And we're not talking about the tragic situation in Cleveland, but every day. Guys, drive through the college. I see people, when I am in town, come through the college and they're wearing headsets like this, looking at their phone, walking down the sidewalk. You're just setting yourself up to be a victim.
Yeah, so you just got to be aware of your surroundings. And, you hear of this tragic event, Jason, and God forbid this would ever happen to anybody, but it will. Unfortunately, the statistics are going to say it's going to happen again. And so, and hopefully it'll happen, it won't happen for a long time. Hopefully it'll never happen again, but it does, and things do happen. If somebody's facing that situation, let's say that maybe I was the person that told this guy. I mean, first of all, how do I even handle that? Maybe I got a neighbor that's out shooting a firearm. Do I even talk to that neighbor if I don't, how does that situation kind of work? Because our brain sometimes says, I'm immediately going to go to that person and tell them what's up.
Right.
But how do you handle these situations?
Well, it's great to know the personality of your neighbors if you have that opportunity. But when in doubt, guys, that is what our local law enforcement officers, that's what they're there for. Had they used that service, or I say service, had they let the law enforcement officers come out and handle that situation, it may have changed the total outcome of the situation.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you're facing a situation, and I would even go as far as saying, if you've got a great relationship with that neighbor, but they're out firing a firearm going crazy, I mean, I would almost say
you don't know whether they're on
exactly
if they're
under the influence.
Yeah, under the influence of maybe alcohol or street drugs. And guys, you got to watch out for number one. Sometimes that's all it takes is like they walked up and just asked him a simple question, or hey man, don't shoot, and that just flipped the switch.
Yeah, and so your best avenue in that situation, Jason, like you said, call the law enforcement. That's what we have our public law enforcement force to handle disturbances. They're trained. They know how to react in these situations.
We're not trained for it. We don't have all the tools, with us at that time to handle that situation, but they have way more training than the average citizen.
Secondly, let's think about too right now with this person on the loose. What are some things that folks can do to be prepared? You already mentioned, just being aware of your surroundings.
Being aware. Keep your doors locked. Don't leave keys in your vehicle. Don't give them that access route. He's not probably going to be out in public. He's probably going to be hidden, in the brush, some sort of like the escaped inmate that was up in Centerville.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a year and a half or so ago, and they found him in the brush.
But
yeah.
he was on the run for weeks, before they finally captured him.
Yeah, so these are some of the things that maybe some of you are watching this morning. You're saying, it's just common sense, but sometimes you need that reassurance, and you need that person that knows how to train and talk to people. Jason is that guy. And don't have this attitude that you know everything, because the reality is we don't know everything.
No, and we're not going to rise to that occasion when that bad time happens. I meet people all the time say, I don't need training. But guys, let's face it, we're not going to rise to that occasion when that bad time happens, Rob. We're going to default to our plan of action and our level of training. And if we don't have either or, we're probably going to be the victim.
Yeah, and these are good things to know. And Jason Thompson, again, with Guardian Defense, teaches classes on, firearm safety and some of that. Let us know, a little bit more about some of the services you have, Jason.
Well, I'm a full NRA instructor, so we teach various classes of pistol, handgun, from basically you've never shot a gun before and you want to learn how to shoot a gun, to living safely in an unsafe community. I'm working on getting some of those classes set up that are going to be free for people to come out and attend, so hopefully they don't become a victim.
Yeah, it's great knowledge that you have to have. Go to GuardianDefenseLLC.com. I put the website up there on the screen.
Or follow us on Facebook, guys. Guardian Defense LLC. We're on Facebook.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? That's a good idea, Jason, because I'm going to put let's see, I'm going to go ahead and put this up here on the screen as well for folks. So make sure right now, if you're watching this live or if you're going back, and maybe if you're listening on the podcast format, too, that, if you're listening, just search for Guardian Defense LLC on the podcast format as well, and you'll be able to find that on Facebook. And make sure that you go right now and like his page, because Jason's going to keep you up to date with all things that are going on. A good buddy of mine that was former law enforcement, Brandon Godfrey. Love you, brother. Good to hear from you this morning. He says, don't delegate your safety to someone else. Learn from folks like Jason to help yourself. And, Brandon, that is so true, man.
It is. That's a great comment. Guys, it's not up to anyone else for your safety or your family's safety. It's your responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
So good chiming in. Brandon works law enforcement and, a tremendous friend of mine, and that is such a good comment, Brandon. Well, I'll tell you what, Jason, we're going to step aside for one moment. We're going to come back after about a minute, and then we're going to wrap it up. We've got about 3 minutes on the back end.
Awesome.
We'll wrap it up. So
sounds great.
Stay with us. Great show today. A lot of information, not only National Day of Prayer, but protecting you and your family. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. This is Good Morning Huntsville. Hey, friends, welcome back here on Good Morning Huntsville. Rob Hipp alongside Jason Thompson of Guardian Defense. Check them out online, GuardianDefenseLLC.com for safety and more. Please reach out to Jason. He will take excellent care of you. It's a family-owned business,
yes,
and they will take care of you. They got property right outside of town, beautiful gun range there that is covered to help you learn the safety. Don't be afraid of weapons. Jason will teach you how to feel safe, confident, and secure when handling a firearm, and safety is your number one friend when it comes to being involved around that. I was a guy that was nervous to be around shooting a shotgun, and just being around you has instilled my confidence, knowing that if something ever came up, I can protect my family because of what you've taught me. But again, Jason, we appreciate that. And also sign up for his LTC classes. Again, go online, GuardianDefenseLLC.com, and when you do it and you talk to Jason, let him know that you heard about it right here on Good Morning Huntsville through Hello Huntsville as well. We're going to be doing this month a little bit later on too, as part of our Foundation 5 support from Jason. We'll put out an article, a little educational series there on the website, and you'll be able to see that
right now.
So we got that thing going, and then I know a new website is in the works, and working with you on that. So we'll have that going pretty soon. But we want to just lift up our business community and help them as well. So, Jason, a lot of information today, man. It's what did he say earlier? I like what he said. He said something about on an island. Was it
BOI, born on an island?
Born on island. So
on island.
I'd love a little BOI action, man. Born on island. I'd take that all day, man.
I would too. And I love to go down and visit the island.
Yeah. Well, it's been a good one today, friends. I want to remind you that today, kind of that theme has just been, of course, protecting your family, but just lifting each other up as we always do here on the show. But again, just think about what your cup's full of today. Are you full of negativity, or are you allowing situations in your life to fill that cup with negative, or do you want to pour that out and just refill it with some positive things today? So as you're is it whatever you're battling today, I know that you may be suffering. I know that somebody you may feel has wronged you. I heard a message the other day, too, that just said, it hit me home because you hear the phrase, get over it. Sometimes we just need to get over it.
Yeah, you need to empty that cup sometimes.
Empty the cup, get over it, and say, you know what, better days are on the horizon, and it all starts with you. You can't control what happened yesterday, but you can have an influence on what happens tomorrow by how you handle the situation right now.
There you go.
So that's the message for today. Friends, we love you. Jason, appreciate you, man, and all that you do.
It's an honor to be here this morning.
Here in the community, and we got a busy day lined up as I'll be heading off to a networking meeting here in about 7 minutes. So I end the show, and I race right over to the chamber, man.
There you go.
And then we'll see you again, I guess, around noon.
Yeah.
For WCRC. And so
we have a great day planned.
Great day, and we'll be talking more. We'll have some representatives from Walker County Referral Cooperative talking about the networking opportunities there if you're in the community, and then also with preferred partners through the chamber that I do also on Tuesday morning. So a lot going on. We've got a lot more happening on the show this week. Caught me off guard here too, Jason, because normally I talk about what we're going to be mentioning on the show in the coming days. And
well, I think it was our guest. He just filled our brain full of great info this
Oh,
morning.
yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow I'll have Christy Adkins on. She'll be talking about preferred partners. Thursday, I will have our friend Lois Stellick from Old Town Theater. She'll be joining us on the show. And then we're going to wrap it up with a really good show on Friday. I wanted to get her here today, but she wasn't able to make it. But Tara Burnett of Hearts Museum is going to be joining us on Friday to talk about what they're doing, the Homes for Huntsville Heroes project, where some kids just built some tiny homes.
Didn't you just highlight that the other day?
We did, and so Tara's going to be on and talk about that. So
that's great.
It's got a great show lined up all week. Remember, too, you can find out all the latest events and what's happening around our community. Maybe you have events. You can submit them online. Go to HelloHuntsvilleTX.com, completely free of charge. And also, if you'd like to celebrate the life of a loved one who may have recently passed away, you're more than welcome to do so on our website on the obituary section. That is made possible by San Houston Memorial Funeral Home. No charge at all to post those memories and to celebrate your loved one there on our website, again, at HelloHuntsvilleTX.com. A lot of stuff in the works. We're going to launch our ethical business directory later this week. Also, some of our guides and the summer camp guide will be going out. And then I promise, Friday morning, our new newsletter is going to finally be going out now that we've got some base building. Awesome. And so go to the website, scroll down to the very bottom, sign up for that newsletter. You'll receive that in your inbox every Friday morning that highlights all the good that is happening here. It's a lot of information, Jason.
Yes, it always is.
So we appreciate you and appreciate all your support of Huntsville. As I end every show, I want to remind you today that we're not strong enough alone to make it on our own. We need each other. Provide a word of encouragement. Lend a hand of support. Somebody out there needs you. Until tomorrow morning, good morning, Huntsville, and God bless. We'll see you later.
Have a great day, guys.